The latest thing we were studying in the brain, because you and I discussed, I had learned that they have to be in parasympathetic and have a relaxed jaw to learn.
Right.
But there's another step to that, and it's called sympathetic arousal.
Right.
There has to be that concern. They have to wonder, what are you asking?
Yeah.
Or am I safe to go over that trail bridge? You have to do the same thing. I have to do the same thing to grow.
Right.
We can't just stay where we are. You have to be nervous and talk yourself out of going, but you still went to a clinic. You come home with beautiful, beautiful personal growth and feeling safer in your world because you just did something.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible stuff. And people need to see that just because someone's really good at their game doesn't mean they don't have stress about it as well.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Just human.
Hey everybody, so today is the day that we are going to meet up with Sandy Vreeburg. She is a Masterson Method instructor and practitioner here locally, and she has agreed to come by, have a conversation with me, talk about the importance of aligning the mind, body, and spirit of the horse and ourselves for optimal performance. She's one of the people that I just adore having conversations with. She's so knowledgeable and so good at what she does and really cares. So I'm excited. Okay, so recently I bought horse cookies, those little muffins. So candy for them, right? So I decided, well, if I'm gonna give them these things, I kind of break them up because they're really squishy. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna give them to them, maybe I will make a point to have them do some stretches when I do this with them. And so I saw this really cool one where, I don't know if you can see it, but you put it up and it stretches. You have them lift up and it goes all the way through. Oh, there he goes. And then you want them to, rock back. So it's up and back, and he actually stretches like that on his own, right? So the one that I want to do too is down in between his front legs. Come here, come get it. Come get it. He's clearly never done this before. Oh, that's my hand. Put that leg there. Okay, try again. Here. Oh. There we go. He's a little quirky, so. Good boy. And I'm calling that a win. Oh my gosh. All right, let's do Clover. This is Smarty's sister. Start with this one. Oh, you guys can't even really see that. That might be the jam right there. I don't know what, ooh, she just adjusted herself. That's pretty good. She's very food driven. Okay, we'll do that one more time. Let's see if we can get a side view. I think they want you to like rock that. Ooh. Surely this will be easy for you. That was so easy for you. Right there. You're so much smarter than your brother. Oh, see, girls are better. Oh. Here. Good girl. Shit, she's gonna lay down. Oh. I don't know. They both have their strong suits. Okay. This is Flirt. He's the older of the three. So we'll start with the same one. Under the chin, up, oh. If we got bigger belly, you gotta stretch around. Much work for you to be big ol'. All right, let's try the in-between and the legger. Oh, he's a champion.
out because it's really loud. Who's today's victim?
This is Smarty.
This is much better than the dentist.
All of the things happening at once.
That's how things happen.
He's been really good. He's been really good. He's been working much harder. So I feel like.
And what's going on in the harder work? What are you kids doing?
We're back to working cows.
Ooh.
So
That's what Smarty's built for.
a little hiney working a little harder.
How are you? But he feels good in his body.
Mm-hmm.
Your horses get turnout too. Are they out at night? I forget. Or
They go out all day, so they get work in the morning,
Fantastic.
and then they're out all day long.
That's fantastic. I'm getting better than that. You like your job, buddy?
Hey everybody, so I wanted to introduce you to somebody that does the Masterson method, and she's local in our area. And now that I've started pushing the horses a little bit harder, I wanted to make sure that they keep their bodies going right and the way they need to. So incorporating the chiropractor and then incorporating Sandy, who does the Masterson method. So can you explain the Masterson method, because I can't.
Happily. So yes, I would be thrilled to. So the Masterson method, the title of it is Integrated Equine Performance Bodywork. It's a long phrase. It's a long phrase. I would stumble over that for forever. But what it is, the work is based on learning the responses of the horse to our touch. Very, very subtle responses that we see when we touch the horse that show us where he may be storing tension. So it's hands-on body work. One of the biggest gifts of it is that you learn to observe things that you've never, no matter how long you've ridden, likely observed before, and you respond to that. Whenever you can tell the horse is a little bit worried or bracing, you go lighter. It's just incredible, but by staying inside the horse's brace response, you help the horse release tension, thereby improving big picture, why is it called performance, improving their range of motion, suppleness, their ability to do their work, reduce injury, excellent immune support, gut support, everything. If you feel good in your body, you have a better chance of feeling good in your gut, in your mind, etc. So it is called performance bodywork. We work very, very lightly. We never ask any part of this body to move in a way that where it is restricted. We go softer, ask for them to relax, and then we are able to invite them to move a limb, soft tissue, junction, integrated range of motion. I started this because I showed for so long and I decided to be one of those people I used to hire. But as you and I have discussed, the performance is a huge, huge, beautiful benefit of bodywork. But it's only one part. It's just never ending to me, the benefits that I see with horses mentally. If they're flight animals, if they feel good in their body and they're not worried, they're calmer. Right. They're less likely to spook. They're happier to greet you at the gate to do their job. You and I talk about that with somatic experiencing in humans. They're the same. They're more emotional than we are, actually. That's something I didn't know. Right. So by doing body work, yes, people that compete, homeowners that just want to ride on trail, whatever, they know how their horse feels. They know when their horse isn't feeling well. But now my business has expanded to a number of equine facilitated learning barns where they know the horse can't do his job. He's bracing. He can't carry those people safely because he's worried. Yeah. So the benefits go so much farther than which is a big performance. Right. So.
Yeah, and I like, because I just talked about, let's go down here. It's too loud.
Little drills in the background?
Yeah, that was the perfectly light. So we're moving because we can't hear. So The one thing that I just heard you say and that I like is because the other day when we did our group session was talking about when I train now, teaching people that I go back to the podcast. The number one priority is, am I safe? What nervous system do I need to be in? And then number two is, where do I fall into the herd? And I was talking about identifying what does a horse need to have to feel safe in that moment. Does it need to feel safe moving forward? Does it need to feel safe, being still, depending on what's going on in the round pen? And a piece of just recognizing when they're worried.
Yes.
That small piece literally takes away so much stress from them. And people don't believe or don't want to believe it's so simple, but it totally is.
So, and if I need to put her in the truck, we can. I always thought I was such a thorough, careful horse owner. I love riding. I've always loved giving horses the best care that they could have. But until I started studying this bodywork, did I realize how much I was not taking in on how my horse feels. I was walking in on my agenda. You walk in with your halter. I can't wait for that next ride. I hope that my ride I can pick up where I left off yesterday. It's our agenda. And doing this work, I completely have changed how I walk in the stall.
She's like running into his legs.
Lovely. So yeah, I love it for improved performance and horses feeling good in their body. I think I love it even more now, seeing the results emotionally in a horse's mindset, how safe they feel. If you have tight muscles, and I mean all of us, if we're tight, we're uptight. But being a flight animal, again, I never took in how much they are always watching for that predator. And if they don't feel good in their body, of course they're going to spook more. They're going to be the first one to flee because they feel so vulnerable. So it's an addictive practice that I have. There are always tears. I do teach our courses, our weekend courses and our advanced courses. And I always tell my students, there will always be tears, don't be embarrassed, because people just are overwhelmed by what they haven't been seeing. We love these beings. We want to be the best owners that we can be and the best advocates for our horses. But we have a long way to go on how we've put them into the human world and what we want them to do. But I know our world just keeps getting better.
Yeah, and I just keep going back to like literally every single performance issue or behavioral issue just comes from tension in their body.
Yep.
And then what is tension in their body? That's them not feeling safe. I was like, it's literally that simple.
100%.
Yeah.
And the old me, driven, I can be a little type A. I wanted to get that good ride. I did work with some people that had the make it happen mentality, and I understand it. That's where we were. You're getting paid. That person wants to go in the show and win.
Right.
But boy, we've come so far in understanding if that jaw is not relaxed, there's no way that horse can receive that information and learn what you're asking.
Here is my thought, and I don't know if it's even accurate, so I'm going to say it just so then I can get your feedback on it. Is even from like the first time that we had that conversation, I think things changed so fast for me. So in my head, what happens when they go into that like stress state and they release those hormones into the different parts and they accumulate in certain spots, and if they go into that freeze mode and they don't actually have to run or fight, it just kind of stays in until they get
stored.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I didn't take that in. You and I both discussed it till really, thank you God for Dr. Stephen Peters and all the brain dissections he's done and what he's studying, and then reading the book We Love in an Unspoken Voice, taking in, we store tension, we store emotion and tension cellularly. So do they.
Right.
So if we want them to be good in their mind and be our safe partner, we need to be taking care of them and make sure they feel good in their body. So and body work, I mean, again, for performance, just like a human athlete, why wouldn't you have someone do body work? If you want to keep your horse moving to the best that horse can move, why wouldn't you help release tension in those muscles so he has access to all of them and his best possible movement? But additionally, and more importantly, in my opinion, you want him coming out of the stall ready to, looking forward to doing his job, being soft in his eye and feeling good in his body.
Right. So when you do your work and they lick and chew and yawn and some of the other things. What does the lick and chew mean for you? Like, what is that?
Well, the lick and chew, it shows that there is relaxation in the jaw. Salivation, it is a rest and digest. It's a step of your going into parasympathetic. Now, there's a key to watching for licking and chewing, because are they licking and chewing because I softened so they're no longer worried about me, or did they lick and chew because I helped release tension in a certain muscle? So it's very important, it's very rewarding, and lick and chew is a part of showing a release response. But the bigger responses that I love are the deep breaths that we just got, resting a hip, sneezing, snorting, eye rolling. Then you know you are really talking to this entire phenomenal, miraculous body releasing tension. But my theory is anytime you can help a horse step into the parasympathetic nervous system, into rest and digest, and again, after reading in an unspoken voice, every time you can step into relaxation, you're healthier. You just put circulation and relaxation and oxygenated blood throughout your body, and you're healthier in your world. You're safer in your world. You know, and for people doing this work, you start to see things that you wouldn't have otherwise seen. And I don't just mean the subtle responses. All of a sudden you're like, wow, I didn't realize my horse was so tight in their right shoulder. I keep working them harder on the right. Perhaps maybe they needed to, you know, do the opposite or have a little bit of body work. So, and that's what, you know, you and I keep learning is the more you can put a horse back into rest and digest, the easier that horse can facilitate that and go there. Some of the hardest horses I've worked on, hardest meaning most challenging, and the sessions are quite short, are those that have come from rescue. So many lovely people are rescuing horses these days off the kill track, or horses off the track. That the key to this work is that we are asking the horse. This work doesn't work if I'm not a total partner feeling everything I'm feeling. This horse is a little tight right now on the pole. I'm inviting him to nose out and soften these muscles, but I have to invite, come in the back door and soften when I feel a brace. So these horses that have never been asked, they can last about 15 minutes, and then they go into such a state of dropping into parasympathetic that sometimes I've seen them come out on their hind legs because it's an emotional response. And that's when I first met you and we talked about it, because I kept seeing it and I'm like, what is going on? And so that's what caused me to want to start to study the brain and understand them more. So it's not just that I need to be really good with my touch. I need to understand, you know, some of them can only handle so much of letting go.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he talks about how it's scarier to come out of that freeze state, and for multiple different reasons. So the dipping so deep into that and then relaxing and going, oh my gosh, I've totally let my guard down completely. What is going on?
Yes, and that's what happened. That's what I went to a friend who's becoming an osteopath and said, what's going on? Because I keep working on horses and people say, I've never seen my horse more relaxed. And then moments later, the horse is lunging at the fence. Like they're not seeing, but it's emotional because they've never let themselves let down. So it's phenomenal. And there can be horses, you know, in show barns that are performing beautifully. That's what they know. They're doing what they know. Yet they could be shut down. Yeah, it's that difference of that, the obedient versus they're doing it because they're your partner in this. Yeah, and I love this barn I just worked in, this equine facilitated therapy. There's like, he's not lame, he's okay, but he's become really grouchy. And I found a lot of restriction, and he's doing his job, carrying unbalanced people, you know, and he's working hard and doing what he knows, but it's starting to affect him. He needs time off. We have beautiful deep body work sessions, and they're giving him a couple days off so he can feel better in his body, and then go back to work. It's amazing to me how many figure out that we're listening when you learn this body work. And often I cry too, just because I'm so thankful to be trusted. And that, you know, they're unsure of me and then they let you in. And then pretty soon they show you where they're holding on to their stuff.
I had just said a couple days ago when we finish our group lessons now, it's like before we end, we make sure that we give gratitude for them allowing us to be on their back, because I think people forget they don't have to let us do any of the stuff that we do to them.
Well, and you and I discussed, and I was very embarrassed to say I started riding at 10:56, the first phenomenal whole horse dissection course I took. She said, you know, they weren't put on this earth for us to ride. I was a little embarrassed to not ever have taken that in.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that we can't ride them. And I work on a lot of horses that really feel good in their body, and they do greet their owner at the gate, and they load up easily. But you know, that back needs to stay soft and supple. It's not meant to carry weight. It's a suspension bridge like the Golden Gate Bridge. And we need to keep all of that moving and supple for them. They like to learn. You know, if they're shown fairly, just like human beings, the more we expose them to in a fair, safe way, the safer they are in their world.
Right.
But that relaxed jaw has so much. Again, you know me, I'm a nerd and I'm passionate about so many things, but studying the hyoid bone and the jaw attachments that go all the way through the body and back up to the sacrum, that relaxation and the ability for that horse to lower his head, let down, salivate, lick and chew, it's huge for their emotional state, but it's also huge. That needs to swing, their pelvis needs to swing for their hind limbs to come under. We need to be in the middle and swing with them. It's huge for their whole health and their movement, their ability to flex. I mean, because of this work, I've learned, okay, instead of make it happen and I'd ask harder, it's soften, feel them relax their jaw, ask again. Yeah. You know, something else you and I discussed too is the emotions that we love our horses, but we put a lot on them. We want them to save us sometimes from life or sadness or for a relationship. And I'm not saying they can't do that. I love them very much. They're a huge part of my life, but that's not on their role either.
Right.
You know? Yeah. We need to take care of them as much as they need to take care of us. Yeah. But we ask them to take care of us.
Yeah. I said something about, and you said it, with hyoid?
Hyoid.
Hyoid?
Yep.
Well, first of all, what is the significance of that? Because I think that's a fairly significant one, right?
It is extremely significant.
I feel like this one's really important.
Significant. And when I teach, you know, we try not to go too much into anatomy because we have so much technique to teach, and you want your students to go home really confident with what they learned so they can go home and practice. In the advanced course, we go a little bit more into anatomy, but I have to talk about the hyoid.
I was like, because I started looking into it and I was like, well, that seems really important.
It's extremely important. So the hyoid is embedded into the tongue, and it is the most phenomenal structure that, honestly, it is built like a swing. And when I keep saying swing, it's because I just keep adding layers to knowing the importance of that swing. One little part of Gerard Huschmann's book, Contortion, Collection or Contortion, one little page I'll show you. He mentions the importance of how those hind limbs swing off the pelvis. They must swing, and I realized, oh my God, of course, and the hyoid is a swing, literally, honestly connected tongue to tail. So if they can't relax that, and that tongue is a huge muscle attached again via all these different systems back to the tail, if that's not moving, you're stuck in all kinds of places.
Right.
Well, and it's also attaches up to this pool and this jaw. So not only emotional support and movement, but think about digestion, gut health, everything. Right. So hyoid, we do have tongue releases that we do. You know, but you have to be extremely careful because it is an extremely important structure. But we have ways to help do hyoid releases.
So what I saw and what I was doing with my horses, I did it every day for 2 weeks, where I just put my 2 fingers on that space at the bottom of their jaw. And it was not invasive because I was like, I'm not grabbing onto that tongue because I don't know enough about it. Right. But it felt very like mild, and I just let them go wherever they needed to go until they softened, and then I was like done. I did both sides.
Excellent.
And it started to happen much faster, like the moment I would do it. And he has some trauma around his mouth because when he was young, he had busted his baby teeth out of his mouth, and he's always a little funny about his mouth. So once I started doing that, it felt like that also helped him, you know, not make such a big deal out of it.
So all of what you're saying is huge. Any limb that we lift or move, anything that we do, we ask in such a way that they feel safe. Often horses will take their head away from me at first when I want to start to do, we can do the bars or the roof of the mouth. We do actually hold the tongue on horses that can accept that because it encourages movement. And you're watching for movement in the TMJ, which isn't just an important joint for jaw health, right? Salivation, digestion. They also store emotion in their TMJ. Think about human beings. The first thing you do when you worry is clench your jaw.
Right.
Well, what do we know about them, right? I mean, and another, I'm just going to segue slightly, mindfulness with riders that I've tuned into from learning this work is when you're riding and you're thinking about something that makes you mad, you likely just ripped your reins and just inadvertently sent that message to that jaw. So, but what you look for in everything we do, I know that I can't release all tension in a horse in a session, but you're looking for improvement. Your horse receiving your hand in there is excellent right there because he had fear. Secondly, I look for movement in the TMJ joint. And then as they get going on working their jaw, I'd love to look for lateral movement in the lower jaw. And those are things we'll catch. I'll notice maybe they're only moving on one side, not the other. That's great information for my owner. Maybe it's time for dental. You know, there's all kinds of things that jaw health tells us, and it's a beautiful report card on can that horse truly relax in that jaw. You know, and some of them, when you approach them, they're used to being wormed or viewed or whatever. So I stay with a really soft hand so they get to recreate that memory or that association. But this is not that. This is me helping you relax. See, just from starting with him, I love his lower head now and a softer top line. He's, you know, he's wonderful because we can sit here and chat and do what we're doing and have dogs run around, and somehow if we don't get involved with it in a bodywork session, either do they.
So what are the other, so say like someone wants to maintain stuff in between bodywork. Like the other thing that I started doing was I watched someone on Facebook who's in one of our private groups, and she was doing a couple different stretches.
Well, okay, so I'll just say in Masterson level, we don't do any stretches. And stretches, it's not that they're a bad thing, but people really need to be mindful of what they're asking and how. Because one of the things that happens often when I work with a horse and I want to ask for lateral cervical flexion, I want to see that he can come around with the flat forehead and truly be soft with his cervicals bent. Often they'll tweak their head and they're like, oh, I can come around, or they move their hind end. It tells me they're very tight here. So when people do stretches, often they think they're doing a good job, but the horse is coming around improperly, and therefore you're adding to the compensatory movement.
So is there something that you would say if you wanted to help maintain?
Yep, huge. So one of the things we teach in the weekend course, and I know Jim has it, Jim Masterson all over YouTube and all, is the bladder meridian, which may seem slow and boring for people. But it's an acupressure meridian that runs along the top line of the body all the way down to the termination points in the hoof. It's a great thing for people to do. You know, we love riding our horses, and groundwork I love as well. But it's a great thing to throw away the clock and come out and practice the bladder meridian, which is honestly, you are not touching. You can't touch. You could be a couple inches off, and you're searching, and I just got one for a blank. And wherever you get a blank, and I know people say horses blink, it's a neurological response to my touch. So where a blink, it's a blink. And if you think, oh, well, he just blinked, then move along and then go back. If you get a blink there again, then you know it's something. So you watch.
Where is it?
Well, it's all down the whole top line of the horse, a few inches off the top line, all the way down. And there's 16 points, which are termination points, and each one represents a different organ.
Got it.
Just starting with the bladder meridian, and it's both sides. And as Jim says, if you only do one side one day, your horse isn't going to run out and run in circles. But it's a way to see where your horse is storing some tension, and you just stay and watch him, and you have a I have nowhere to go mode in your body. I always stay really relaxed in my body when I work. You can't be straight and stiff. How would that, translate to the horse? But one thing people can do, as I say, is just doing the bladder meridian, take a half hour each side, take 15 minutes, don't rush it, and act like you've got all day.
Right.
And you will watch a horse go from being worried to lowering their head, relaxing, licking and chewing, possibly, relaxing a hip, whatever. So if people get bored, it's too bad, because really it's something that I used to put music on in the barn, and on a rainy day spend an hour doing bladder meridian on my mare, and you are really helping take off a whole layer of tension.
Right. So when they blink, do you sit there for a minute?
I stay.
Okay.
So excellent question. When they blink, you stay, because it means they know there's something there. But I always go even lighter.
Right.
Because the blink tells me there's something there, and often after the blink is the brace. So you might move a little bit on one side or the other, so you keep the horse in the game with you.
Right.
So I'm saying, I'm listening. I saw you're a little bit worried. I'm going to go a little lighter. I can see that he's working on this right now. If they're worried about where my hand is, you can move a few inches one way or the other, or a few inches farther back. They'll change their breathing. They'll close their eyes. They'll look and chew. That's your time to move on.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll wait a little bit. Often, this is something I didn't know till the body work, they're not going to show us. I can see they're holding on to it. Sometimes they look like they're sucking on a lemon because they are not comfortable showing their vulnerability. So we have to look away. I have to act like I'm not watching. Sometimes I have to step far away, and many horses will go stick their head out over the fence or out the stall like I can't see them. But so bladder meridian is something that people could find, as I say, on YouTube, or come take a Masterson course. I highly recommend it. But you can bring relaxation. Another thing is your bars of the, just seeing how you feel about me sliding my fingers in on the bars. And I like to stay with them, as I say, if they raise their head or whatever, very gently, just saying, don't worry about it. I am always communicating, don't worry about it, I got it. Right? It's not let me do this, it's don't worry about it, I got it. If he's not going to move his jaw at all, you can come in underneath. Invite a little bit of movement under that tongue, and that's where that hyoid is embedded. So I can just talk to it that way when you're not going to do a full tongue release, which again, we teach in the advanced course, and it's done with caution, and not every horse is a full tongue release horse. But so that's good for people to do. Another really nice, easy technique that really helps release tension, know your horse, always be mindful, watch for those signs, because some of them can be so tight, but is something called the sacrum float. And very gently, a lot of people do tail pulls, but what this is very minimally, I'm inviting the horse's tail to come out away from his body, and the minute I get a blink, oh, he's gonna lift it for me actively. That's not what I'm asking for yet. I go, thank you so much. Okay, put that back down. Okay. So, but his mind is on me there. Okay, I don't know if you saw his blink. So the blink, according to Jim, and I have to say, Jim Masterson is so funny because he's so bright and so capable and so humble. And I will work with him and be like, how did you figure this out? Because it's so effective. But the minute that horse blinks, I stay. Because as he has said, it helps put all these muscles, these are massive muscle compartments that pull down on the sacrum. It helps relax those and put them in neutral. So I'll stay with him. And I'm going to come out a little farther, and I just got another blank. Stay with me, sweetie. But it's very, very gentle. You're just inviting. It's not an active move. I'm inviting him to release tension here.
This one.
Is he next? Oh no.
That's all we have.
You gotta go to dental. You gotta go to the dentist.
Okay. Sorry. So we'll switch a horse out, and then we'll just if there's anything else. And then
that I'd love to say about the Masterson method, and it's really, really the same, I think, with what you do with human beings in your mirror in the stall sessions, is asking how you feel. Don't judge it. Don't judge it. Just ask how you feel.
Right.
One of the biggest freedoms Jim Masterson has done for me is saying you don't have to be right, just have an opinion.
Yeah.
So many of us are told we're supposed to be correct, and that's, you shouldn't make a mistake in life, etc.
Yeah.
And the freedom, speaking of the relaxed jaw, of truly staying in touch with what someone is feeling, whether it's when they're with their horse doing body work or when they're with you in a mirror in the stall session, is truly to be able to be quiet and not judge what it is that you're feeling. That's what we walk up when I do body work. I'll listen to what an owner tells me about their horse, and I like to hear that, what's going on. Then I have to leave it outside the stall.
Right.
I can't come in with a picture or a plan on how that session's going to go.
Yeah.
That's what happens, in my opinion, in your mirror in the stall.
Right.
I mean, I've benefited by them. I love your meditations, and I love listening to your words and being quiet with myself and asking what I feel. That's what we do all day long in bodywork.
Right.
You know, yeah, it's emotional because we love these beings so much and they don't lie.
Right.
And it helps people to help center themselves as well.
Right.
Great. Let's just talk some. How are you doing? You know, and something you do again that we've discussed with our darling friend that we have in common, people want to send horses to you for training, but you found out that the horse could respond really well to your training. The beauty and the gift of what you do, in my opinion, is the rider has to come along the path.
Yeah.
Right?
I won't take horses in training unless the owners are willing to.
But that's the gift, because again, I'm hoping we're segueing from that. People would send a horse in full training and then they show up at a show and pop on and ride, and if it works for them, you know, that's okay, and they compete and that's what they want. But if they want more of a relationship with their horse that I see in your barn and most of the barns I go to, they want to ride for a good ride, but they want a good relationship. They have to take responsibility for what they're bringing to the table.
Right.
And maybe they aren't even seeing what they bring to the table. They need the awareness of what they bring to the table.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing, is the awareness.
Yep.
For a long time, I think before I kind of started to get into all of this, I used to think that bodywork is like relaxing and like a luxury, and I don't think I understood at what level that we and them hold those emotions and traumas and all the things in our body, like not really understanding at what level and how important that part was.
Yep.
Like, it's so much more than just doing something nice for your horse.
Absolutely.
It's everything.
Absolutely. No, and that's what I was saying when I started. I was like, okay, time to step out of showing. I wanted to be one of those people that I used to hire, because I'd see so many horses flow out way too young, or great in their 4-year-old year, and all of a sudden, you know, not happy anymore. And I love it, as I say, for body work and releasing tension and having that horse move better, but it's so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that. And just on everything that you and I have said, you know, whether they're put on this earth for us to ride, etc., but we changed their life. I mean, I don't know if they'd be here without us. I'm going to say that because of nature in the world, right? And what happens if they don't have a purpose to be here. But just because, you know, we love owning them and giving them good lives, we have to really address they're meant to have their head and neck down 16 to 22 hours a day.
Right.
They can't often do that, right? That in itself. Movement is everything. Movement is health. It's right, releasing physical tension and emotional. But we have to acknowledge, hey, how about body work helping that horse restore movement that he hasn't been able to do because he's locked in half a day or eating 2 big meals, you know what I mean, or something. So I wondered, could I build a business on it? Is it fluffy? No, it isn't fluffy. There's many, many, many reasons for it. You shake that up. You let that go. You're lovely. See, I love that little lower lip. They start to look like they could put tobacco in there, in that lower lip. How are you? It's coming. Sometimes it takes a little while for the whole release to come through. You know, you'll see breathing changes. Some of them have to look the other way.
what I started, one of the first things that I started doing with people, and I don't know if it's because it causes them to be really present and mindful, or if it's because it's actually doing something to the horse, but we start working on dropping their head. And you have to be obviously present and really tuned in to know when the horse is dropping their head, when to release.
Right.
But for the horses that want to resist, and I realize they hold so much tension in their withers and their base of their neck, that when they do actually start to release, and if you do it as a practice, it seemed like they were getting those hits of whatever they get.
Yep, they're licking and chewing and going into parasympathetic.
And so when we would get into like trailer loading or something that I knew the horse didn't like, I could start dropping their head down. And it actually would, it was like clicker training with a treat, but it was like their own hormones. So they were starting to associate the trailer with those good feelings.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And then I was like, well, is it because the person is so present and aware of what's going on for the horse, or is it because there's actually something in the release? But it sounds like it's probably a little bit of both.
It seems to me it's almost always a little bit of both, right? But that owner found a place for that horse to feel comfortable. Right. I mean, when they do lower their head, they do soften these muscles on top. They can't not. By lowering this, there's all these muscles that attach to that thoracic sling that get to soften. They get to be off duty for a minute.
Right.
And that's why, again, everything we do in this body work, when I ask for this little horse to nose out a little bit, it's because I can start to feel these soften, and I'm inviting them to let go and nose out as you're meant to. Your goal in body work is to restore the best movement you can so they have access to all of those 600 and something muscles. Well, by inviting your horses to lower their head, I used to use that really good, sweetie, on babies when I'd ride on trail, young horses. They're worried. Invite them to lower their head, I'd scratch their withers. Both really good places. They found a good place to go. All of a sudden, they might be more intrigued about what they're seeing in the bush rather than worried about it.
Right.
Very valuable. Good, really good. I love this. Really good. Really good. You good with that? You feel a horse brace. If I soften instead, invite that, right? Let them know they're okay. Ask again. That's their best possible way to then understand what it is that you're asking. I mean, they've got to feel good in their body to be able to do their job. They've got to feel safe with your ask. I mean, like they say, they do need a little sympathetic arousal. They need curiosity. Enough curiosity to want to learn it.
Yeah.
And then that relaxed jaw is like the blue ribbon.
Right.
I got it. So yeah, you're relaxing them, bending them around, riding lightly till they blow. That shows you've got, relaxed back muscles.
I know there's one more question, is there a term for like that healthy amount of tension, I mean, being relaxed but performing, that balance of, they obviously need tension to be able to carry themselves, so it's not like tension itself is bad.
No, that's exactly right. No, well, that's suppleness. Okay. So tensegrity is another word. We need enough tension. Tensegrity.
Okay.
Elasticity.
Right.
You need to be supple. People will condition for strengthening, but they'll end up, unfortunately, often using a horse so repetitiously that his muscles become compromised, and then he loses communication with maybe the deeper postural muscles. Everybody needs to slide and communicate. So when we overdevelop certain areas, they become restricted, the quality of movement degrades, and then you end up being more prone to injury, because that's how you end up with ligament, soft tissue tears, because things are too tight.
Right.
But sure, you need elasticity.
Right.
So suppling, that's why we'll say work a non-repetitious movement. If you have that beautiful ride with a beautiful collected canter and whatever you did in your dressage lesson one day, you go out, ride long and low, and ride out in the trail or the field the next day. But yes, supple, strengthening. I mean, strengthening a horse, conditioning a horse is the healthiest thing you can do for them. They're meant to move and be safe and be fit and healthy in their body. So you need it's interesting. I know we both look at the word tension as a negative thing, right? But you need enough, I call it elasticity, in your muscles. And hey, I've worked on horses that I'm like, this horse is too loosely connected. Right. He's vulnerable to injury. Right. So sure, absolutely, mindful work, trot pulls, serpentines, you know, some really good up and down little trails and all. But tightness, that isn't good.
Right. So the difference between, it almost feels like tension and tightness are two different things.
Yeah, I would say tension versus being supple.
Right.
Supple and strong and elastic is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Tight, then they're going to go anyway. Right. If there's a predator, they're moving off anyway. Yeah. So they're going to use whatever it is that they need. Right. But we want them to move the best that they can and feel the best in their body. The deep postural muscles are their fine motor skills. That's why you'll see horses that become leg movers, not back movers, because that back is so tight. Right. So at first they might look real pretty and real buff and developed, but eventually, as you know, we were saying, their movement loses quality. Right. But absolutely, those beautiful horses in whatever performance they're doing need muscle conditioning. So when you learn, we were talking about bladder meridian, what can people do? Really, really gentle. I say put brains in your fingertips. And the touch levels in Masterson, you know, he starts with air gap. I added hair gap, because it's just on the tips there. Egg yolk and so forth. Really indicate to people just how softly we touch. Always with the soft pad of your finger, never with a pokey finger. But when you run your hands over your horse, and you just put brains in your fingertips and start looking for movement. I call it looking for slide, because I know everything should slide via the fascia. I'm looking for, is this moving? Your fingers will find an area that isn't. You'll almost feel the adhesion, like it's gauze underneath or duct tape underneath. That's something people can do, not just mindlessly groom. Pay attention to how that horse responds to their grooming. Right. Where do they like them to be? Where do they turn their behind to you? Where do they pin their ear? Go lighter. Right. Everything we do, go lighter. And it's counterintuitive, because people will think with horses always big, go more firmly. No, he's just big, but he's extremely sensitive. Right. So I just really think it's important when people tune into that, is what could they do? Just my hands are like, I don't make pie. But if I did, I've seen people working pie crust, very, very gentle, with my hands, asking these muscles to help let go. Right. Jim calls this the accordion technique, because you're bringing 2 points together, but you could be doing it as lightly as sitting on top of the hair and inviting those to let go. Right. So I'm always doing that, looking to see if I can help restore some movement. I call it giving them more room under their covers. I want everything to slide, and so, see, this is a little different top line. Once again, have everything slide so that it feels good, and when there's adhesions, it hurts. Right. It's sticky, it hurts. What do you think about that? I love this step forward. You learn horses' patterns really quickly when you start to work on them. I need to step forward, go quiet, have my little muzzle vibrate, and then get a release.
So if people want to get certified or learn where there's like an event coming up in their area, like where should they go to find you?
They should go to the Masterson Method Equine Services website. There's several other instructors all over the country. We're actually all over the world now, in all kinds of areas in the UK and all over Europe and South Africa, New Zealand, Australia. So on the website, it shows the course schedule. If somebody is really fascinated with it and they've watched Jim, you know, I always invite people, go online, go on YouTube, you'll see a lot. He has a beautiful website that explains our work. The first thing they do is take a weekend seminar. And then if they want to go on from that, which I call the weekend seminar the first potato chip, because it's quite addictive, then they go on to a 5-day advanced course. Okay. And I am so blessed to be able to host one of those days here. And they go on to the advanced course. And if they still want to go on to certification, I'm extremely proud of our program. It is very in-depth. They are writing case studies, which is exhausting, but very, very valuable. And you eventually work on 30, you do 30 sessions, and you have mentors and coaches that guide you through.
Cool.
And that can take generally about a year.
Yeah.
Very valuable. Sometimes a year and a half. Sometimes people speed right through it if they've already got a lot of equine experience. But the program is fantastic, and even just taking a weekend. If somebody takes a weekend course, it changes their relationship with their horse. I'm telling you, it just changes everything. It's very beneficial. You're darling. This is nice. This is softening really nicely. Really good. Come around a little bit, are you?
Good job, princess.
I tell you what, I do not tire ever of horses relaxing and feeling safe and letting go. It's pretty addictive stuff.
She's like, and that's a wrap.
She's saying, and that's a wrap.
She's like, I'll finish that just like you needed me to.
I know. Would have
With a
loved
nice
a big fat yawn. but we didn't
exhale.
get one.
She's over here snoring. I can hear her in the
I
background.
can hear her too.
Well, cool.
You got rich people. I hope it's good. I hope you like it.
No.
I hope